the fearsome forest of Belgium, where legends rise, rain plays dice with fate, and where every lap can flip the story. Hi guys, welcome back to Red Flag Radio F1 YouTube channel. After 3 weeks to relax, we are back racing. And what better place to return than the fearsome forest of Belgium? We are back in Spa, where legends rise, rain plays dice with fate, and where every lap can flip the story. And not to forget, it's a sprint weekend with rain in horizon for every day this week. All signs point to a wild one, unpredictable, unstable, and utterly unmissable weekend. But the racing drama has already started off track. Red Bull, they are here with the first race weekend without Christian Horner. What do you think how this weekend will be? Considering after like 20 years, we won't see Christian Horner and we will see Laurent Mekies as the main leader for this team.
So I'm genuinely very excited for Laurent Mekies to take up this role. I am curious to see how he directs the team. But you see, the problem is Laurent Mekies was the obvious choice for promotion because he had served at Ferrari for a brief stint as well, and he was the team boss at Racing Bulls this season as well. And so, while that's a valid choice, I think it's a little bit tough for Red Bull because Horner brought at least 8 championships, right? The entire Vettel era and the entire Verstappen era, which might still be going on, but I doubt it. But yeah, that being said, it's going to be a curious one this weekend because, man, racing wise and team wise, I think there has always been a divide at Red Bull. So internally, they might be going through all sorts of clusterfuck, but then Verstappen is just going to tune that out and try to give his best on the track. And that is a great thing for him. I think from the perspective of talking about just this specific race, I think Verstappen could just do whatever he's been doing the entire season. There is not really going to be a downfall just because there is a different leader, especially since his own father was lobbying strongly against Horner for these past few months. So
Yeah.
I doubt this messes with Verstappen in any way. But yeah, as a team, I'm sure there are going to be a few f***ups here and there, and I just hope for an entertaining weekend from Red Bull because from the way things point, of course, other teams are going to be fighting at the top here, not Red Bull.
Absolutely, man. That's the scenario of the season. And if Laurent Mekies can reciprocate those 8 championships, I think that was the perfect call for Red Bull. But I think that's something that we don't think will happen anytime soon. But if we are specific to Red Bull and their present season, it has been a very tough season so far. And I think Mekies just wants to bring that stability in this team and save that ship which is just sailing. So it will be an interesting case. Red Bull is 4th in standings, and I don't know, man. The last race was pretty, let's just say, horrendous with whatever strategic direction they took with Max Verstappen, especially considering rain was there. It was in prediction. It was to be part of that racing weekend, and they still went with that aggressive rear wing, which obviously didn't pay off. And Verstappen lost quite some time when it was raining, and he was just not fighting in any way. So it was a gamble that didn't work. And obviously, when we talk about Red Bull, we know how good they are when it comes to making those strategy gambles and go with the right approach. But this season, everything is just going wrong, man. I don't know how this weekend will go, considering, as we mentioned, that it will be a race weekend where we will see rain. They need a weekend where everything goes according to the script, which is written by Red Bull and not by the other teams, right?
And it's not gonna happen. See, that's just it. That's my point. Like, even if you discount the fact that Oscar shafted Max into oblivion with that brake check at the safety car restart at the British Grand Prix, and then that took out all the tire temperature out of Max's car. And we discussed about this, but basically that's what caused him to have the spin at the restart and he tumbled down the order. Excluding all that to the side, Yuki Tsunoda was down a whole lap. He was 15th, and that's because 5 cars had DNF'd. He was basically dead last, effectively. So, yeah, quite right. As you said, even if the other teams don't dictate Red Bull's finishing order, which McLaren seldom tries to do, but even then, yeah, strategically, it just not looking as good as they were even a year ago, for that matter. And you could argue that McLaren's journey to the top started last year itself, but Max snuffed that flame out pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
that's why I think we should move on to the team that is making all the waves this season. My favorite team at my favorite track. Man, I am so stoked to witness the McLaren dominance at Spa-Francorchamps as well. And I mean, I just hope for a beautiful, beautiful race out of the McLaren boys, because like I said in the previous review video for the British Grand Prix, I'd like to see Lando take this win as well, because it's just going to make the season all the more interesting. Because then that way he'll have basically caught up to Oscar, almost equaling his points just before the summer break, and that's exactly the kind of mental game that I also want to witness at McLaren. Because then through that break month, what do the drivers do? Because then it also becomes a chess match almost, where that how do you mentally try to shaft your rival, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, there is no debate that McLaren have been the fastest team over the last few rounds. And even their new floor, which was maybe they tried in Silverstone, is delivering. And that is something that they need here as well. And talking about Lando Norris, man, he has been phenomenal so far. And when the rain hits, he's the one who has scored the most points in this grid so far, which is amazing and something we usually don't see. And credit where it's due, he's keeping his nose clean, especially when it's raining. So I think the morale shift from last 5 races has been perfect for Lando Norris and not for Oscar Piastri, who has won just one race in last 6 Grand Prix. And that's something we were not expecting, considering the momentum which Oscar Piastri had last few races back. It was something phenomenal. We did talk about Australia, and that was one race weekend where things didn't go well for Oscar Piastri. But after that, he was on another level. And even Lando Norris had no answers, like how to stop him. But now the situation is completely different, and they are like equally close to be fighting for that championship. And it's like as of now, I truly believe that this can go down the wire, which every Formula One fan wants to see, because there is no other driver or no other team who can catch up at this point. So it makes sense to see both drivers fighting at top with the best car and have all the momentum with each other. Maybe at this point, Oscar Piastri would be saying, it's high time I have to step up. One win in 6 races is not acceptable for that car. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how things will shape up here, because this rivalry is boiling now, man. And it's, as a McLaren fan, I don't know how you are taking this, but it's a crazy sight for me as a neutral, seeing both drivers fighting at top now.
See, even if I may support Oscar as a McLaren fan, watching this championship develop the way it is developing is like pure cocaine for me. It's like drugs. So, yeah, and that being said, given that there is a very high, basically a foregone conclusion chance of rain, I feel like, yeah, Lando could do well. I mean, that's basically his calling card. And it is also the fact that it's not just him doing well in the rain, Oscar also does well, but somehow Lando just has that magic that he manages to catch up and pass him, or he just finds tactics to get ahead, as maybe it's his strategy differing from Oscar's. But yeah, I think this is a great track for a face-off as well, because it's a very power-hungry track, and in the rain we'll get to see who has the bigger balls to deploy all that power that McLaren has. So
Yeah, man, absolutely.
it's going to be absolute cinema. I hope there is either a 1-2 in favor of Lando or a double DNF. That's the only way I'm going to take this for McLaren, because any other result's just going to be plain boring. But let's say McLaren does double DNF. Do you think the Ferraris will then manage to do something in this race? Because Charles was also doing all in Britain in the rain. And you've pointed out several times before on this channel that Charles is just not good in the rain. It's like he's been neutered. As soon as a single drop of water hits his car, it's like his balls have been cut off.
Yeah, man, I don't know. The only positive I can think of, if it rains, I think Charles Leclerc should have some momentum here, because let's not forget, this is the track where he won his first F1 race. So he has some great memories here, but this is a track where, let's just say, if you make a small mistake, you still have potential to gain some time from other corners because it's a long track. There are only 44 laps. So it's not like if you make a mistake, you won't have the opportunity to do better on other corners. So if you do that, there's that huge potential to gain as much time as possible. And that's why Max Verstappen is doing so well on this track, because he knows if there's one position where he's not doing well, from other sectors he can gain that time. And similarly, Ferrari can do that because they are bringing their much awaited suspension upgrade, and like they said that this could be the final piece in the jigsaw puzzle, and they desperately need this because Silverstone was not good. Yes, Hamilton was fighting for podium, but there was that potential to get even more, and clearly fourth, and I think Leclerc was P14. That's just not acceptable. I still hope that they are closer to McLaren with that upgrade and not just go backwards. That's the only part which will save Ferrari in this case.
My problem with Ferrari, is that even if they could bring a world of upgrades. I mean, they could put a fucking jet engine in that car, and they could have the aerodynamics from the god of wind himself. But it was still the strategy, in my opinion, that Lewis. Because he did not need to pit in the British Grand Prix. He could have possibly just overtaken Hulkenberg up front. And that being said, I don't want anything to change in the British Grand Prix. It was absolute cinema. But yeah, the problem with Ferrari is just what I said. They could have all the upgrades they could pay for and wish for, but they'll still fuck it up. So I don't think they're going to do very well here. P2 in the constructors is all they're gonna have this season. Of course, because the McLarens are fucking faster than the speed of light or something. But yeah, I just don't think Ferrari has the mental gall to catch up anywhere else on the track,
Yeah, but do you think Lewis Hamilton can snatch a sprint win?
Of course. Yeah. That is his only saving grace, isn't it? Because we've been milking Lewis's sprint win in China for this first half of the season now. But that is all. That's all there was.
Yeah. But even in Miami, where they took the gamble and called him to pit, and it was raining in sprint, that did pay off for Lewis Hamilton. He was, I think, top 3 there as well. So at least in a sprint race, he's fighting at top, and who knows, maybe this could be another week. I don't know. I just want to give some hope to Ferrari fans so that once it starts raining and once the race is on, probably they will lose all their hope after seeing that performance.
This just reinforces my point, This genuinely just highlights my point further, because in a sprint race, there is not a lot in the way of strategy that you have to worry about. It's just the driver, hopefully with no pit stops. You just have to keep your nose down and race, and that Lewis does win. As soon as you make it into a big race and the factor of strategy comes in, Ferrari finds a way to screw Lewis over. That's my hot take of this video, because I'm not going to solely credit Lewis for his lackluster performance at Ferrari, let's say. I won't say it's a shit performance. It's just lackluster. It's neither here nor there, and I think I blame at least 3/4 of the way to Ferrari for that.
Yeah, man, it genuinely makes sense here, because I think Ferrari said you will get 8th title here, but it looks like he will get P8 in the Drivers' Championship at the moment.
It's Lada 8th title.
We are not. That's the scenario, man, and that's the, I think, sad part that Fernando Alonso saw. That's the sad part Sebastian Vettel saw, and I think it's Lewis Hamilton's time now. But let's not jump into the conclusion straight away, like how you said, Laura. And yeah, let's see how things are. But moving on to the team who was amazing here last year. They got P1, P2, but obviously it was a disqualification with George Russell. And yeah, I think George Russell would be looking for some redemption, not because of just getting that disqualified part changed to a victory here, but with all the rumors that are going off track as well. I don't know where Mercedes will be here, to be honest. Yes, it's raining, the temperatures would be lower, it could work well for Mercedes, but it's not easy to predict these days, man, what Mercedes can do here.
I think they should do well here because, as you said, the temperatures are great. That's what they've been craving. But then, even when the temperatures were great, I mean, they didn't do much in Britain. And we hate to keep harking back on Britain, but that's our only data point right now, right? Because cool conditions, power hungry track. That is our best approximation of what could happen at Spa. And that being said, maybe Mercedes finds a way to be mediocre here as well. I mean, Russell was 10th and Antonelli wasn't even in the points at Britain. So
Yeah.
how much of that do we credit to Mercedes for a bad strategy? How much do we credit the drivers for not doing well? I don't know, man. Mercedes is a real it's not even a black and white, actually it's a properly grey picture here right now. You could make any sorts of assumptions across the entire spectrum from double DNF to 1-2 finish and you could be right either. So I think
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Mercedes we just need more data points, and that being said, we still want to err on the side of good performance because low temperatures, good engine, if it's reliable enough and if it doesn't blow itself into a million pieces, we could see at least one of them on the podium maybe.
Yeah, man. And imagine if Kimi Antonelli is back on podium in Spa. I think that would be an amazing sight. But the sad part is when it rains, even rookies are finding it extremely tough to survive, man. That was the case in Silverstone, where out of 6 rookies, 5 rookies DNF, and only Ollie Behrman was able to survive. Even though I won't fully put that blame on Kimi Antonelli there because he was just rear-ended in Britain, so it was just unfortunate. But he was not doing that well as well. I think it was that case where the strategy gambles didn't work for Mercedes, and probably they could take that with a pinch of salt and probably can do better here because they have those data points. They know what were the mistakes. But the tough part would be that, like I said, there's that opportunity here where if you make a mistake as a driver, you still have that potential to make up that time. But if as a strategist you are making that mistake, boy, you are in trouble because it's a 2-minute lap here when it rains. So you can't make that mistake here. So they have to be careful with those strategy calls. And obviously, if everything goes well, I think at least Russell can be fighting for that top 5 like how he usually does. And he desperately needs some amazing weekends if he wants to save his seat in first place.
Fair enough. With Max's rumors and everything, Russell should be shivering in his shoes at Mercedes. But I think let's move on to Sauber, who does have amazing weekends. I mean, since the past 4 weekends, they've been doing insane. And therefore, could this be the track where they continue their almost, we could say, dominance at this point, at least in the midfield? Because we'll get to Williams later, but fuck Williams, man. They have not been doing anything for 5 races now.
Oh boy, I don't even remember when was the last time Williams did something amazing. Maybe Australia P4 when Albon was there. I don't know, man. This sport is a place where we only live on those short memories, and I think that's why we have to give credit to Sauber, who are doing phenomenally well. I think they are the best of the rest at this moment, and credit where it's due. It's Nico Hülkenberg who is doing phenomenal, and he started from P19 and getting that podium after like 39 starts, man. It's crazy. And we have been saying it from years that Hülkenberg deserves that podium, but not even in my wildest dreams I thought that this would be possible in Sauber.
And in those conditions, rain, P19, all those conditions put together, it was a throwaway statement that you had passed that, oh, maybe we see Hülkenberg on the podium, and lo and behold, it came true.
And it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it happened. We were just joking around like he's starting from P19. That's what we want, and that happened, man. It was unbelievable, man. Maybe for Hülkenberg's sake, I should just say that almost every race weekend now.
No, you know what? You should stop commenting on Aston Martin seriously and start making more jokes about them. Maybe then they'll start getting those podiums that they need as well. But circling back to Sauber though, I think given the past few races, again, those are our only reference point, of course, I think Sauber could do well. I mean, we could see Hülkenberg top 10 because rain, power-hungry track again, similar conditions to Britain, sort of. And given that, as you said, there is a lot of opportunities to collect your car back up if you do fuck up. And Nico has not been fucking up since the past few races. We could very well see him in the top 7 comfortably. That could be a very reasonable prediction at this point. Now, whether or not it comes true and he doesn't get screwed fighting through the midfield if he has a poor qualifying performance. We'll see that. But then I think, yeah, this could be a weekend where they can continue their points holding streak. And man, if this keeps on going, they're close to dethroning Williams for fifth.
Yeah, man, I'm ready to put all my money there as well because let's be honest, they are doing everything that is needed, and this could be another week where they can at least bridge that gap, which was huge when we started talking about Williams and their. We were saying that P5 is already sealed, man, but credit race to Sauber has been phenomenal, and even Bortoleto can join the party because very during the qualifying sessions he has been amazing. It's just that during the race something goes wrong for him, and that just is just stopping him to getting those crucial points. Which there are some sides where Bortoleto can do really well. Even Austria was a clear example that if everything goes well and he can keep his nose clean, he can get those points for Sauber, which they really want if they want that P5. So I think this could be that track where anything can go, and definitely Sauber will be in the mix for sure.
Stake is one of the sponsors of Kick Sauber, if I'm not wrong. Listen, if anyone's watching at Stake, we're going to bet a lot of money on your website on the Sauber. Please script it such that we win so that you win as well.
Win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. But a team I would absolutely not bet on, even if I was held at points, I'd rather be shot than to bet on that team, is f***ing Williams. Because they have been doing nothing since the past 5 races. I mean, fine, sure. Albon got P8 in Britain. But the 4 races leading up to that, Williams had no points in any of the races. And they are supposed to be that hype machine that, we're going to be the best of the rest. Our only real competition is Alpine maybe, who is also doing f***all. But setting that aside for a sec, Williams needs to get their act together as well. I mean, other teams are just blistering past them, you know. They're just leaving them in the dust. And Williams is not supposed to be that team. They've had some signs, but he has not been doing very well, man. He is supposed to be the final saving grace for Williams with Albon that would push them to the midfield standard, and they could go from there. But I think this weekend is basically the last chance Williams has to keep some sort of a grip on their P5 in the constructors, and if both drivers don't score, it could already be slipping away.
Absolutely, man. I think from last 3-4 race weekends, we are just saying that this is high time now. Williams have to step up their performance, and it's not happening. Yes, Albon got P8, and the best side for him was that he was finally able to finish that race. Because let's be honest, it was like 3 back-to-back DNFs, and that was the scenario with Williams where they were not reliable and something was going off the track for them and probably not what they needed. So it's not a place where they should have been, considering how bulletproof, how strong they were looking from Bahrain pre-season testing. When we thought that probably they should be at least best of the rest, if not they are fighting at top. This is something that they have to think about, and that's the reason why they were looking to bring some upgrades here. Whether that's the scenario, I'm not sure because it's too soon to say. But Spa is a place where you will have some chance to show that yes, it can go really well, and if everything goes according to the script, they can perform really well because Williams is a car which performs well historically here. I don't know, man. If they can, they need to keep their nose clean first, and obviously finish that race and be as close to points as possible because they desperately need those points.
Yeah, I mean, Albon has had very good qualifying performance this season around. So, with even if they qualify like, I don't know, 5th and 9th or something like that, and they just hold that position there, they just need double points, man. Or a podium out of one of them, but that seems more unlikely than not. So any way they can score 10-15 points here together, that could be the saving grace for them. And therefore, let's move on to Aston Martin, who did get double points in Britain. So how do we feel about Aston?
I was happy, man. Finally, the streak ended where both drivers finally were in points, and obviously we needed some rain to make that happen. And I was just happy, man. Finally, Lance Stroll was able to get some points. He desperately needed that, considering he was getting overtaken by Fernando Alonso in the championship, which will happen for sure. But definitely it was the morale booster that he also needed, and he was doing really well. He made, and I will give some credit to Aston Martin's strategist as well, who made a spot on call with Lance Stroll at least. Probably not with Fernando Alonso, but they still, I feel like it's still a green tractor which won't perform that well if it's not raining. In the normal conditions, I don't think that car is doing that well, and if it's not raining, probably we will see more weaknesses here, and that has been the scenario of this whole 2025 season. But if they can continue their form, probably they can extract as many points as possible, because Alonso is doing really well from last 4-5 race weekends. He has been in points, so that confidence is there, and I think this is the best place to be in if you are coming back after a double points finish, which we said something which Aston Martin was not getting so far. So I think they should be fighting hard with other teams as well and should move forward from here, considering they are, I think, P7 in the constructor stand. So whatever points they can get, I think it's best for them.
Exactly, but then that's the problem, right? If at all it becomes a dry qualifying session or a half dry race, or let's say parts of the race are dry and it starts dry and then it rains, Aston Martin will already be so far back that even in the rain, when they start to catch up, they will sort of be nudging P10, P11, P9 at most. And then that's a big problem, because if you can only perform well in one specific weather condition, and weather is the most unpredictable part of F1, that's the most horrible place to stack your chips. And I'm not saying that Aston Martin is doing that intentionally, but through whatever reason, through whatever choices, it's ended up here. And therefore it's a little bit tragic.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I think it's time to make some jokes on Aston Martin as well, because let's be honest, I really want to see some better performance from there. In all honesty, they are getting those points, so I won't talk that much. But obviously, there's that more potential, and as an Aston Martin fan, I really want to see them fighting at top, man. Maybe 2026 is the saving grace for this team, because let's be honest, 2025 is half done, and I don't think whatever they do, they can fight at top. So it's just that get that relevant data for 2026, and if you can find some points, take some, morale boosters, then why not take those as many positions as possible.
Yeah, and okay, so let's move on to Racing Bulls. Man, I mean, they had a double DNF in Britain. Do you think they're going to have a similar performance here? Because Racing Bulls has been doing alright. Double points in Monaco, I think 4 or 5 points finished races from Hajar as well. So they're alright, but they're seeming very mediocre. I mean, we're unfortunately at that part of the video where we run out of things to talk about the teams, because they're either so mediocre that nothing happens, or they're so shit that nothing happens. So yeah, I think Racing Bulls is going to give us a boring race as well, and in the review we're going to be sounding dead as well, because we'll have nothing to say, because either they'll have DNF'd or they'll have nothing to show for.
I think this could be a race weekend where I will focus on Racing Bulls, because even they are also coming here with a new leadership, and there are two drivers who wants to do really well, considering Yuki Tsunoda is not doing anything for Red Bull. And no matter how bad that Red Bull car is, as a Racing Bull driver, you still want to be part of that Red Bull team only. Not now, but maybe in future. Because right now the scenario is pretty bad, but for future, definitely Red Bull should be the better team compared to Racing Bulls at least. And that's why it's important for Lawson to do really well if he really wants to stay in Formula 1. If it's not even about Red Bull at this point for Lawson, it's about being for Racing Bulls. And for Hajar, definitely he will be eyeing that spot of maybe overtaking Yuki Tsunoda for that seat. And he has been doing well overall in this season. So that could be that one weekend where maybe it was just a weekend to forget for Racing Bulls, and maybe they can do better here. Maybe it could be that case where they just go with that reboot and do well. That's how I see Racing Bulls here.
I just wanted to add one quick point here, is that Hajar has been doing well at Racing Bulls, but I desperately don't want him to be the next sacrificial lamb at Red Bull. Stay at Racing Bulls, man. And B, unlike Red Bull, Racing Bulls does not have one out of the pack driver, who is just too good for the field. So I think this leadership change will shake up the team a little bit, and that is one of the reasons why I am nigh on confident that Racing Bulls may not do well here. Because I mean, the new leadership might introduce new kinds of dynamics with the strategy and everything. So I feel like Racing Bulls is a team that's much more susceptible to faltering under such changes mid-season, and that's why maybe I don't think they're gonna do very well.
We'll see, man. It's one way to watch. One way to find that out is obviously watching the race and see how it unfolds.
Absolutely.
But moving on to the team who were not that great and gave us that perfect in sync moment where both cars were just moving round and round. Let's talk about us, because that's the only noticeable thing I can think of.
Yeah, they had nothing. I mean, Ollie Behrman was, I think, P11, but P11 or 12, he was close to the point. So was Esteban Ocon. I think P11 and P13 were their standings in Britain. So they could have, if you had given them maybe 10 more laps, maybe they could have found a way to wiggle their way into points, but I doubt it. But yeah, and I want to club Alpine into this category as well because they did all as well. So whatever, man. I have not a lot to say.
For Alpine, I'm surprised that Colapinto will be racing this weekend.
Oh yeah, that is a fair point.
Yeah, he gets one more chance before the break, and
I think he gets that chance because the break is coming up and they don't want to do anything too rash. Alpine doesn't want to do anything too rash in terms of signing another driver because they're noticing that it's not working out for them. So maybe they're just dragging on Colapinto till the summer break where they can have a month to think about their other options. And Bottas was in the rumors for Alpine, so maybe he makes a debut there as well this season. And that could be that final saving grace, perhaps.
Yeah, man, we talked about that in our last video, so do watch out for that. And yeah, but we should give some credit to Gasly as well, who was amazing in Britain. He's the saving grace, or I should say the shining light in this grey season for Alpine, because he's the one who is scoring points. And I mean, how much you will rely on one driver only, man? They have to step up here.
I mean, Red Bull has been relying on one driver for 3 years now. So, but Alpine should not take lessons from Red Bull in that because they A, do not have Max Verstappen, and B, do not have a car that was as good as the Red Bull, at least in terms of the car's fitment with Verstappen. So yeah, just get Bottas, man. Get another experienced driver who will at least try to find a way to fight for P10, P9, something.
Yeah, man, they need those because they are dead last, and obviously other teams are scoring in the maximum possible way except Haas, who is struggling. So maybe you will overtake Haas, but after that, what's next for you? So interesting, but probably we will see more of that. And yeah, man, I think these are desperate times for Colapinto at least. But let's see how he performs here. And I think it's time to move to the hardest part of this video, where we should predict who will snatch that sprint pole here, because we will save some predictions for future. And yeah, man, who do you think who will be on that pole, considering it's mixed conditions, whatever can happen here?
Okay, very quick, because I already gave this a thought before we started recording. I think if it rains, and it probably will, but if we have a wet sprint qualifying session, and regardless actually, even if we don't, I am hard supporting Oscar for pole, for sprint. I am pretty locked in with my pole for Oscar, and I think P2, P3 could be in order. P2 Max, P3 Oscar. Lando. So it's a McLaren sandwich top 3 for my sprint quali predictions. How about you, man?
Yeah, that makes sense. I will go with Hulkenberg pole. At least I tried. Okay, sure. Maybe Hulkenberg will be there when it's race time, but not in qualifying. But pole, you know what? The momentum is high, so why not give that credit to Lando Norris? I think he will be on pole here, and P2 I think makes sense. to say Max Verstappen because this is his track, man. We have seen how amazing he has been, but I don't think he can be on that pole position here. But P3, I will give it to Oscar Piastri, bros. Why not? I think we are going with same drivers, but yeah, it makes sense. Based on what data we have, I think it genuinely makes sense to go with these three drivers only.
Absolutely. Those are good predictions apart from Nico Hülkenberg. I don't know what you've smoked before recording, but more power to you.
Do include that part if by God's grace or something else happens when 19 drivers decide to crash in Spa and Hülkenberg gets pole position.
Yeah,
Imagine
man.
the scenes, man. Because Spa never disappoints, okay? Whether it's
Absolutely.
sunshine, whether there are storms or sprint chaos, this weekend promises madness. So, we'll be breaking it down all live for the future sessions. But if you really enjoyed this session, please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. We have crossed 400 subscribers as well. We are blessed to have you all here, and I hope you all are having great time. But do let us know, how do you think this weekend will shape up for your favorite team or for your favorite driver. But we are back racing here, man, and I'm excited. And when the drama hits, we are waving the red flag. Goodbye.